Welcome to Practical Organic Living. In today's episode, I'll be talking about strawberries. Specifically, I'll be talking about tips on how to grow strawberries. The first tip is choose the right location. Strawberries like a lot of sun, but they don't like it very hot. So one thing you consider is how to provide them with the most sunlight while not giving them too much heat. Where I'm standing, the sun rises from the east over there and sets in the west, which is somewhere over there. That means I want to put my strawberries somewhere where they can get almost full sun the entire day. The second tip I have for you is to choose the right varieties. There's basically two types of strawberries: everbearing strawberries and Juneberry strawberries. Juneberry strawberries are strawberries that will produce a lot of strawberries in about, say, 3 to 4 weeks, while an everbearing strawberry will produce strawberries throughout the growing season. As a home gardener, the variety of strawberries is important because you want to decide whether you want to eat a lot of strawberries in a month or if you want to eat strawberries throughout the seasons, in spring, summer, winter, and fall, if your climate allows you to grow strawberries throughout the seasons. I have in my hand two different varieties of everbearing strawberries. One's are Eversweet and one's are Ozark Beauty. Both varieties will produce throughout the summer. However, this variety may produce more during the middle part of the summer, while this variety may produce more during the earlier part of the summer. So, mixing varieties allows you to have a more consistent yield of strawberry throughout the summer. And isn't that what we want? A lot of strawberry throughout the summer. So now that we've talked about choosing the right variety, the next important tip is to choose the right planting style. So you'll see here that I have a raised bed. It's a 4x4 raised bed, 4 feet by 4 feet. So that means I have 16 feet of growing space here. However, it's very difficult for me to fit all the strawberries I want to plant in this raised bed. So the most practical solution is to actually grow these raspberries upward. But I can't do this in this raised bed. So let me show you what I have as a vertical planting solution. So over here, you can see that I have a vertical planter. Now, this vertical planter has a lot of pockets. It's got, I believe, 6 pockets per layer. So that gives me 30 pockets to plant strawberries in. So the idea is to actually plant one strawberry per planting hole in each pocket. So that way, as you can see, this vertical planter only takes up 1 square feet of space, roughly. But because I can stack it upwards and higher, I can grow a lot more strawberries than I could in a 16 square foot raised bed. Now, before we start planting, the next tip is to choose the right soil. Now you see here, I have bought basically planting mix from your local nursery. You can get these at big box stores or local nurseries. But why would you want to pick potting soil or planting mix instead of using dirt from the ground? Well, the dirt from the ground is too heavy, it's too compact. So what that means is that the strawberry roots won't be able to get into the soil and pick up and absorb those nutrients. And also, it's not going to have enough oxygen. And when you water, the water won't actually reach most of the roots because it'll just flow out and run off from the surface. So I have here, as you can see, a nice mix of mostly wood product and some other goodies mixed inside. So the next thing we're going to do is to move all of this planting mix into the container. So let me show you that. The next tip I'll be talking about is how to water your strawberries. Now with the vertical planter, the advantage of having a vertical planter is that you can water from the top or you can water from the sides as well. But strawberries don't like their leaves very wet. It leads to a lot of disease and you don't want that. So what I'm going to be doing is be watering from the the strawberries from the top. So the nice thing about these vertical planters is that you don't have to water from the sides. You just water from the top, and if you take a look, the water's gonna trickle down from the top all the way down to the bottom. Now the frequency of watering should be almost every day. Well, it has to be pretty much every day during the summer, especially if you put the strawberries out in full sun all day long. You may need to water, depending on the location, up to twice a day if you're getting a lot of sun. And the reason you want to water a lot is because you want to make sure that the container never dries out. Because once the container dries out, the roots will die, and when the roots start dying, then your strawberry plants will die, and you'll have no strawberries. And also, the nice thing about these particular planters is that excess water actually drains out from the bottom. So as you can see, there's really good drainage here because you see a lot of water flowing down from the unused water that flows down from the top towards the bottom. So that was today's episode of how to plant strawberries. Those are some general tips on how to grow strawberries in your home garden. I hope you found these tips very useful. If you like this type of content, and if you want to follow along with our journey, please make sure to like and subscribe our videos as we post a lot more content about practical organic living. Thanks everyone, see you on the next video. Alright, two quick bonus tips. The first one is how to actually plant these strawberries. So I just showed you generally how to plant your strawberries. You saw me planting these strawberries, but you didn't see how I actually plant these strawberries. So what I want to do right now is show you examples of planting the strawberries correctly and incorrectly. So over here you'll see that the strawberries are actually planted a little too high. So this right here is the crown. So you can see that it's actually a little too exposed to the elements, to the air. So that's why this is probably turning brown. So basically what you want to do if you plant it correctly is to put more soil, so you could either do one of two things. You can either plant this a little deeper, or you could pile more soil so that the soil covers more of the crown. Nevertheless, it's actually better to cover less of the crown than cover too much of the crowns. And this is not really a problem because over here you see some new growth. It's pushing out some new growth. So that's when you know that the planting's okay, but just as a precaution, you should probably pile some more dirt on here. Let me show you an example of piling on too much dirt. So over here, you'll see that the strawberries are planted about flush with the soil level, but there's way too much soil on top. So the soil is actually starting to pile up onto the strawberry crown. So it's actually exposing none of the strawberry crown. The reason you don't want so much soil here is because if it rains too much or if it's too cold, it could lead to crown rot. And crown rot's when the roots will start rotting and you'll lose the strawberry plants because the roots will start rotting. So this is not the best example of planting a strawberry, but in our climate, it's actually not too cold, and also the potting mix I'm using is actually pretty well draining, like we mentioned. So I don't have to worry about crown rot too much. In addition, I put on some worm castings on top, and the castings I'm using are actually a little bit sandy. So if you have more sandy soil, that's also going to help you prevent your strawberry plants from getting crown rot. So that's the first tip. Planting your strawberries correctly by planting them not too high and not too low. All right, second bonus tip, how do you fertilize your strawberries? So we talked about having the right soil type for your strawberries. What a well-draining soil is going to do is lead to a lot of nutritional deficiencies because a lot of the nutrients are being flushed out of your soil when you're watering your soil. That means for a container, you have to fertilize your strawberries. Now, I have in my hand two types of fertilizers here. They're both organic. You can use your fertilizer of choice. I have a liquid fertilizer here and a granular fertilizer here in powder form. It's not really important what brand of fertilizer you use per se, but it's more important what numbers are on these fertilizers. And that's for another episode. I'll talk about these numbers and what they mean and what type of numbers you should use. But for strawberries, what you want is something a little bit higher in the last number, in the potassium. So this one's a 436, and this one I believe is a 335. So the idea behind using a fertilizer higher in potassium is that you'll probably
get sweeter strawberries is the theory, because strawberries require a little bit more potassium and they also like more acidic environments. So that's why I have this acid mix. I'm not going to do this today, but how you would apply it is actually for a liquid fertilizer, what you would actually want to do is follow the instructions on these containers. They'll tell you usually to mix a tablespoon or teaspoon per gallon or so. And when you water your strawberries, just water accordingly. And you'll probably want to fertilize every week or two, depending on how much growth, how hot it is, and how many strawberries you want to eat. Now, for a granular fertilizer, the best thing is actually to put these into the soil before you plant. But because it's actually a little bit cold in our area still, and because it's a little rainy, putting these in the soil while it's still cold can lead to some issues with a rot and so forth. And also, if it's not warm enough, the strawberries aren't actually going to take up the nutrients, so you're actually just wasting your fertilizer. So what I would do later on in the season is to actually top dress the strawberries. So if you see what I'm doing here, if I were to top dress, I would probably dig a little hole here, just pull the soil to the side, and sprinkle some organic fertilizer in here. And that way, if you were to water directly in the container, you could probably water just a little bit and get the strawberries some nutrients that they need. Overall, strawberries aren't the heaviest feeders, because giving them too much fertilizer will actually lead them to growing more leaves and less berries. But nevertheless, if you're planting in containers, whether it be these type of planters or different type of containers or even raised bed, you're going to want to fertilize these quite often. So those are the two bonus tips I have for you, and we hope that this video has inspired you to grow strawberries in your garden, and happy gardening. Bye.